Hey, here are 5 stupid things I've noticed about The Lord of the Rings. Tolkien ripped it off from Wagner. And don't you Tolkien-worshipping Hobbit lovers even try to deny it. J.R.R. Tolkien was an educated man. He wrote a story about mythical characters fighting over a magic ring that had the power to rule the world. And when he was asked whether any of his story was derived from that of Richard Wagner's Ring Cycle, Tolkien said that the only similarity between his novels and Wagner's operas was that both rings were round. Right. And the only similarity between Bram Stoker's Dracula and F.W. Murnau's Nosferatu is that both villains had sharp teeth. What an asshole. It's incredibly racist and elitist. I'm not even talking about the films, which cast white actors in the heroic roles while repeatedly characterizing the evil they opposed as black. Now, actually, I don't think there's that much there. What I'm talking about is how all of the so-called free people of Middle-earth lived in these rigidly segregated, separate societies, with the elves over there, and the dwarves over there, and the hobbits over there, and all the evil people down there in that dark, forbidding region to the south. And judging by how Elf Girl's dad, Agent Smith, reacted when she said she wanted to marry her human boyfriend, Moses Hochleitner, they don't cotton to miscegenation neither. It ruined Peter Jackson. When he accepted his Oscar for Return of the King, Peter Jackson referred somewhat embarrassedly to his early days as a filmmaker, when he made movies like Bad Taste and Dead Alive. But what's he directed since? King Kong, which was twice as long as it needs to be, and The Lovely Bones, which is twice as shitty as anything needs to be. His best film is still Heavenly Creatures, which he co-wrote and directed 7 years before the first Lord of the Rings film opened. Give me the guy who made that, or those cheesy splatter horror films, over this ponderous, self-important hokum any goddamn day. All the stupid names. For a work so grave and humorless, The Lord of the Rings sure is full of silly, made-up proper nouns. Look, let me give you an example. I'm just going to read one paragraph from the Wikipedia article about the One Ring. The One Ring was created by the Dark Lord Sauron during the Second Age in order to gain dominion over the free peoples of Middle-earth. In disguise as Anatar, or Lord of Gifts, he aided the elven smiths of Eregion and their leader Celebrimbor in the making of the Rings of Power. He then forged the One Ring himself in the fires of Mount Doom. Am I really supposed to take this seriously? Well, yes, apparently, because it thinks it's great literature. Hey, it's a story about elves and wizards and dwarves in a time long ago, fighting to save the world by chucking a piece of jewelry into a volcano. It's a silly story with silly characters with silly sounding names. It's just a big, fun adventure, eh? It's a lightweight, pulpy distraction in the tradition of Robert E. Howard's Kull or Conan stories, right? Wrong. It's the single greatest and most important work of literature of the 20th century, a work of great depth and meaning by a serious author whose work must be taken seriously. Or at least that's the impression of The Lord of the Rings that its most fervent fans seem to have. But I disagree. I think that Tolkien's books and the interminable films made from them by Peter Jackson are joyless and self-serious with seemingly no awareness of how utterly inconsequential they are. I've seen dozens of films that handle similar themes much more skillfully. I've read 6-page comic book stories with far more emotional involvement, and if I ever want to see heroes with funny names dressed in armor and animal skins wielding swords, I'll watch He-Man. The hardest part is only picking 5. See you next time.